Here we have another graph or chart question. The passage is longer, but remember the passages for these questions, the first half is basically just going to tell us what the chart says. So you should read it just in case, because sometimes they slip in some extra information. But based on these answer choices, I have a feeling it's going to be a pretty easy question. When the choices are short, when there's just a bunch of numbers, that usually means it's just about finding the right spot on the chart. So we'll read the whole thing, but let's just see. In 2006, this person and colleagues calculated the most accurate estimate yet of the average velocity of the Large Magellanic Cloud galaxy. Before the 2006 study, estimates of the average velocity were low enough for the LMC to maintain an orbit around the Milky Way galaxy, but according to an analysis by this other person, the estimated velocity from the 2006 study is too high for the LMC to maintain such an orbit. See, like I'm losing this, guys. I have no idea what they're talking about. We'll focus on the end here. Therefore, if Besla and colleagues are correct, so they're the ones who said it was too high, the maximum average velocity for the LMC that would allow it to maintain an orbit around the Milky Way is likely. Okay. So, oh boy. All right, this is just a math question, basically. So this is the original study, and they said it's too high. So it must be below 378, right? That's kind of it. If they're correct, the people who said it was too high are correct, then this number is too high. So below 378, what do we have? It's not above 378. Below 297, why would it be that low? Above 344, but below 378, maybe above 297, but below 344. So why does it be between these? See, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. Let's go back again. Before the 2006 study, estimates of the average velocity were low enough for the LMC to maintain an orbit, but according to analysis by these people, the estimated velocity from the 2006 study is too high for the LMC to maintain such an orbit. The maximum average, okay, I understand what's happening now. I just didn't read this carefully. The maximum average velocity that it would allow it to maintain an orbit around the Milky Way is likely. So the problem is, okay. The problem is not saying that this study is wrong, right? That's not what Besla is saying. They're just saying that if the 2006 study is right, then we don't have an orbit anymore. So there is a point where it could maintain an orbit and a point where it can't, right? So basically we need to be below the 378 is somewhere below 378 is where the cutoff is. Maybe this is the best way to put it, right? That's where the cutoff is. The 378, we have no orbit. But before 2006, estimates were low enough for it to maintain an orbit. So this one has an orbit. This one has an orbit. So somewhere between 344 and 378 is the cutoff, the point where now this thing is not orbiting anymore. So above 344, but below 378. That's the answer. But you see, that one snuck up on me, right? I thought that was gonna be an easy question, but as I'm reading it, I'm getting kind of lost. And so don't panic when this happens, right? This is why I'm just giving you this raw take of this question rather than like refilming this because I kind of screwed up a little bit. Yeah, like I know what I'm doing, but still I screw up too. It happens, right? We are not going to be great judges of every single passage, whether it's easy or medium or difficult, whatever it is. We have to just kind of roll with it. And so when this happens, try to do what I did. Try to be like, okay, let's focus on the end. Let's see what they're saying. Maybe something earlier on is going to matter. Basically, what this entire passage is doing is it's adding a fourth column that I kind of had to add in myself. And so they are layering an extra piece of information. They're saying these velocities mean something, and there's a way to interpret that data, but that's not in the chart. So that's what makes this a little harder, is if they just gave us that fourth column, I think this question is much, much easier. So when you feel confused, assume it's because you're missing something, not because the story is inherently impossible to understand, right? Like I don't need to know about the Large Magellanic Cloud in order to get this question right. It's basically a question about minimums and maximums and just kind of piecing it together. So those were the words that I paid attention to, not the stuff that was specific to the cloud itself.